It is absolutely insane what is happening in the cryptocurrency market right now. Bitcoin is just below $85,000. Some altcoins are once again pumping extremely strong, and in my opinion, we are currently at a historic turning point that could open up huge opportunities, especially in the altcoin market. In today's video, we will specifically discuss my current strategy, which is particularly important right now, especially in the current market phase. This is the moment we have actually been waiting for months. I have often talked in my YouTube videos about how important it is to endure these bitter times, this long summer lull that we had. But now it is finally time to officially say that the bull run has started, and sooner or later, the altcoin season will also be initiated. In my opinion, we are on the verge. Everything could kick off in just a few weeks. I expect that in Q4 2024, we will see a significant lag in the altcoins, so everyone should prepare for that. Now, before everything happens, we will discuss a clear strategy in today's video, as well as specific altcoins that I am currently keeping a close eye on. I have the feeling that in the German-speaking area, we are one of the communities making the most profits right now, whether it's with some meme coin plays we've taken recently, or some AI projects that are currently pumping extremely strong again. So let's jump right into the content. Once again, a big thank you for the 7,000 subscribers. Absolutely insane what has been happening lately. So really, a big thank you for enabling all of this and for the YouTube videos being received so well by you. No matter which YouTube statistics I look at, there are extremely many views. And if we look at the like ratios, it's 99% likes, which is truly insane. I think this definitely shows that I am doing a lot right with my work, but of course, a big thank you goes out at this point. Now, let's jump directly into the chart and take a look at Bitcoin at nearly $85,000. These are absolutely historic moments happening right now. We have sustainably left this long consolidation channel, and even when we look at the smaller time frames, Bitcoin is not stopping. Every little mini dip is immediately bought up, so the current upward momentum is unstoppable, and I can well imagine that this momentum is now shifting to the altcoin market. Therefore, it is particularly important to focus on altcoins now, because sooner or later, the liquidity currently present in Bitcoin will seep into the altcoin market, where you can really take your entire portfolio to 10, 15, or 20x. So it is particularly important now, before everything happens. We can also see it here again, to briefly catch up every beginner. We can really assume that the bull run has officially started now, because every time Bitcoin has broken through a new all-time high, also measured by past cycles, Bitcoin has delivered an enormous price performance. So every time, back then also over 3,000% in the cycle of 2012, then in the cycle of 2016, 2017, also over 1,000% in the last cycle, exactly the same game. So as it currently looks, history seems to be repeating itself one-to-one. Bitcoin is following the exact template as it did back then, and that's why I can well imagine that similar scenarios will unfold now, as in the last cycles. I experienced the entire last cycle from 2020 to 2021. I know exactly that history is repeating itself at this point, and that's why it is incredibly important to be attentive now and to see which moves make the most sense, because every little decision can have massive impacts on one's own portfolio in the future. If we also take a look at the logarithmic regression for Bitcoin, that is the logarithmic representation since 2012, which has been very accurate in the past, we can see here very well that the lower band has not even been reached. So we are not even at the lower band, let alone in the fair value range, so in that regard, a lot is still ahead of us. I can well imagine that we will break the $100,000 US dollars this year and then reach 100, 120, 125,000 US dollars in Q1 2025, that we will slowly but surely enter the fair value range here as well. So at this point, everything seems to be playing out just like in the last cycles. It is almost frighteningly similar how strongly history repeats itself. But I have long predicted on my YouTube channel that exactly this scenario will occur again, because history repeats itself, and that's why it is roughly predictable what will come in the coming months. Of course, at the end of the day, I don't have a crystal ball, that's clear, but the way everything looks right now, it seems that everything is repeating. We can also see this in the Google search trends. Some retailers are coming back now. It is absolutely no comparison to the values from the last bull run, so we really don't have to worry about that. In my opinion, it is rather a positive sign when the general public is also jumping back into the crypto market, because we, the investors who have prepared in time, are of course already positioned, and the retailers, the general public, will now first pay attention to the cryptocurrency market, looking at how to buy cryptocurrencies, which meme coins might be relevant, or whether it is still worth getting into Bitcoin now. So, question number 1. From a typical beginner, and we can certainly take advantage of this behavior if we can now roughly anticipate in which direction the market will develop, so that we can position ourselves in the projects that will benefit extremely from this in the near future, of course also due to the recent Bitcoin pump. And that's why we see that simply more retailers are currently jumping in. This is is also the very first bull run where institutional capital plays a significant role, where we have a very strong drive from large institutions, from big players who are also pouring huge sums into the market. We are also seeing an absolutely new all-time high in Bitcoin spot ETF inflows, and this is certainly fueling the market significantly, and thus a kind of super cycle could emerge, a bull run like we have never seen before, because now several factors are coming together. Trump was elected, the corresponding interest rate policy is in place, large institutions are jumping on board, and the general public is still coming. So the general public is currently just at the beginning, and a large part is still approaching us, where, so to speak, the dumb money is still entering the market. For investors like us, especially those who have been preparing for this bull run for a long time, it is particularly easy to take profits with the appropriate strategy and, of course, with the right altcoins. Now, let's definitely talk about the altcoin market. When can we finally expect a massive altcoin season to arrive? That this liquidity finally shifts from Bitcoin to the smaller coins. I have prepared a nice overview here where you can relatively easily see, based on the last cycles, that is, based on the last bull markets, how the individual altcoin seasons have played out. And what we can clearly see here, based on the last cycles, based on the last bull markets, once in 2017 and once in 2021, is that every time the Bitcoin dominance reaches a top, has a very, very high value in general, and then bounces back, the altcoins start to rise accordingly. We can assume that an altcoin season is taking place. This is also dependent in terms of timing on when the Bitcoin halving occurs. And it is also relatively easy to observe how history repeats itself. Of course, a glance in the rearview mirror is by no means sufficient to predict the future, but it gives us very, very good indicators of what stage we are currently in the crypto market. And you can also see quite well that we are just before the altcoin season. I know my facecam just blocked the image, but you can see quite well that we are also at a turning point regarding the altcoins. Here we can also take another look at what the overall altcoin season index says. Current value of 37. We are still far from an altcoin season taking place, or rather that we are actively in an altcoin season, because I am already getting comments again. Hey Vincent, the market is so euphoric right now, the market is so greedy right now, does it still make sense to buy altcoins? Where I think to myself, guys, in the first 5% where the cycle is taking place here, 95% with the altcoins is still ahead of us. Therefore, historically speaking, and also in the long term, the current prices are extremely, extremely cheap for the altcoins. So I wouldn't worry at all about whether to buy more now or not or anything like that. Such thoughts are absolutely justified when an AI tech is at $2 or $3 or something like that. It's completely fine to think about whether it's still worth it. But in my opinion, it is still completely fine to put the last capital into the market now. Of course, one must be careful, and it is also important to take profits in a timely manner. But at the current time, it seems, as already mentioned, that history is repeating itself. And that's why I can say with a clear conscience, we are only in the beginnings. We are still extremely, extremely early, even if it feels a bit within the crypto market as if everything has already happened, as if all the pumps have already taken place, but you must not lose sight of the bigger picture at all. And I can definitely reassure you that we are only in the beginnings. Of course, it can happen that Bitcoin comes back here to $74,000 US dollars, so I even attribute a probability of 50% to that we drop again by 10 or 11%. It can really happen very, very well that if Bitcoin drops by 11%, the altcoins drop by another 20%. That is absolutely normal, absolutely natural in the altcoin market. But whether you buy now or 10-20% cheaper later doesn't make a big difference at the end of the day. If you then take a 10x, 20x with some altcoin projects, that's why I just want to alleviate some of the concern about whether it's still worth reinvesting now or not. And I'll put it this way, folks. Viewers who actively follow my YouTube channel are already positioned. You all hopefully have a well-structured portfolio. That's why it's more of a secondary concern whether you buy more now or not. In my opinion, this is still a bit of the last opportunity to buy certain altcoins. But it is definitely not too late because historically we still have very good entry opportunities now. I can well imagine that you will regret it in a few months. We also see the general altcoin market here. In this case, it's the crypto market free chart, and there we see all altcoins accumulated as a chart displayed, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. What we can clearly see here is that we are still far from the all-time high at this point. We can measure from the last bull run, from the last cycle, when we saw the altcoin season. We are still 35% away at this point, so one really needs to keep that in mind. And I can also very well imagine that if we look at the weekly chart, the all-time high will be surpassed by 2x or 3x. And of course, from the current point in time, there will be quite a bit coming our way for the overall market. We also saw it from the 2018 cycle, where we had an altcoin market increase of about 200%, so a 3x. I could roughly imagine that from the last all-time high, we will also lay down about a 2x to a maximum of 3x. That's why we are still far from any top signals with the altcoins. That's why now is really a bit of the last chance to jump on board again, because I definitely wouldn't make any major reinvestments during the course of the year 2025. You still have time in the coming weeks perhaps, but then the train has really left, because currently everything is playing out just like in the last cycles. We can also take a look here at what the total market cap is. It has also reached a new all-time high in terms of the US dollar value. So, especially USCT, the stablecoin market cap, is at a new all-time high, which is of course a very positive signal for the market because there is still quite a bit of liquidity sitting on the sidelines. All the liquidity will flow into the crypto market sooner or later, which will of course also be noticeable in the altcoin market. Here is another nice graphic which is really very important and thus the core essence of today's video before we soon talk about specific altcoins. This is the last chart I want to show here. And here we see the dependence on Bitcoin shown in blue, and in red we see the total market capitalization of the altcoins. And this is also beautifully recognizable based on the last cycle. So I draw very strong parallels to the other cycles, and we see this first with Bitcoin. You see here, you need to pay attention to the values 11,000, 15,000, 19,000, 34,000, and then you see this intermediate peak. And exactly this moment is now extremely decisive. And here we have reached a new all-time high compared to the 2018 cycle. So the 2018 cycle had a peak at 17,000 US dollars. And here at the point I have open now, we have 40,000 US dollars for Bitcoin. But please take a close look at the point that lies on the red curve and in which stage we are. At the point on the red curve, it is very important to understand because you can see very clearly that Bitcoin is the leader. Bitcoin rises first and the altcoin market follows afterward. I can very well imagine that we are just before this point, so maybe not exactly at the absolute top. We are still in the early stages. I can roughly imagine we are at this point, but this is exactly the time to focus on the right altcoins again, to make additional purchases before the exponential parabolic rise in altcoins really takes place. Everything can happen faster than expected. Many are now waiting for some correction. I also see many comments, hey Vincent, can we maybe buy a little cheaper with this and that altcoin? And when I notice things like this in the market, that people are getting FOMO or even fear that it's too late, it is usually the best time to add more before everything happens. As I said, anything can happen in the short term. It is possible that we might drop again with Bitcoin. I want to mention it again. It is quite possible that we might drop again. One has to be a bit cautious. I definitely do not want to. In contrast, I encourage using 100% of the powder, but it is also important for me to not lose this bigger picture on my YouTube channel and to take this long-term perspective. When we look at the overall altcoin market in the long term, there are still good opportunities to position ourselves now before a new all-time high occurs on the red curve. It is good to see again. I have moved my face cam up. We are currently still in an acceptable range in the altcoin market to make reinvestments. But so that she also gets an overview here at the latest, as soon as $1 trillion is reached, just before the last all-time high on the red curve, just before the last all-time high regarding the altcoins, I would definitely not invest fresh capital in altcoins anymore. So then one really has to draw a strict line and focus mainly on one's own portfolio in that market stage and start thinking about when to take the first profits. So it is important to observe in which market stage we find ourselves. Okay, currently it is still somewhat acceptable, but sooner or later it will be too late because the altcoin market follows Bitcoin afterwards. So much for that. Now let's finally talk about the relevant altcoins. Of course, this is not financial advice. You have to make your own decisions. I currently see a lot of potential in certain altcoins. Especially AI coins are currently on the rise again. We are seeing the performance over the last few days has been significant in parts, plus 60%. I have the feeling that there is currently a slight shift happening from meme coins back towards more utility coins, more AI coins. Therefore, it is essential to engage with the right projects again now. Especially Paul AI, an absolute classic. In my opinion, you can't go wrong with it, and it is also a large position in my own portfolio, so it's really a solid project that has already proven itself over the last year. That is the big advantage. Paul AI is not necessarily a project that started overnight, but it has already proven itself even before the AI wave came. There are some projects that were freshly launched in March, April, but Paul AI was already there in advance. That's why I'm here. I am also very convinced that Paul AI is the next project. 01 Labs, one of my favorite projects in the AI sector, is, in my opinion, an extremely strong competitor. We are also dealing with a decentralized AI infrastructure here, and we have seen tremendous price performances in the past. We see this on an annual basis, and I have repeatedly made YouTube videos about it, so I think everyone who actively follows my YouTube videos should be in profit with this project. I also recorded this YouTube video about 01 Labs exactly at the bottom. You can find everything on my YouTube channel. Here, 01 Labs. I made the video 5 months ago. That's why I'm also doing well in profit here. But even here, I still see good entry opportunities at the current time. 60 million is nothing. I can also imagine that well. Imagine, 01 Labs reaches the billion market cap range. Otherwise, the next project, GLQ, which I mentioned in the last video, I'm quite convinced about. Here you have the opportunity to generate your own codes using AI without needing to code. It's kind of like ChatGPT, but for programmers or for coders. That's why I also see a good application area here. We also see good price performance in the past. Just in the last few days, GLQ has strongly awakened, up 64%. So again, happy profits for all those who bought in again. Then the next project, Destra Network, one of the best deep projects in my opinion. Currently it has a market cap of 200 million, which is not completely at the beginning like other projects at 20 or 30 million, but even 200 million is not particularly much. Here, I also expect at least 1 billion or significantly more, so even a 10x is very realistically achievable. You just have to imagine what Render has already delivered. This is thus the biggest competitor in the deep space, with a current market cap of 3.3 billion, and we can already see what is possible with decentralized infrastructure. That's why I can well imagine that other projects will follow suit. Render is also an absolute top project. Please do not misunderstand me here on my YouTube channel, because I sometimes get comments like, "Hey Vincent, what do you think of Fetch.ai?" Or, "Hey Vincent, what do you think of Bittensor?" Yes, at the end of the day, they are all extremely good projects. I am also very convinced of Bittensor. I can well imagine that Bittensor will also deliver a performance of 8 to 10x. Personally, and this is also my motto on my YouTube channel, I want the absolute maximize gains from the upcoming bull run, and when I see that large projects are already at a market cap of 4.4 billion, I prefer to invest in the little brother, so to speak, 01 Labs, which is currently at just 60 million. Thus, I have a significantly higher potential here than with the established BitTensor Tau. But every investor has to make their own decisions. If I were an absolute beginner, and I have also noticed in the last videos, many beginners are now getting back into the cryptocurrency topic, and many beginners want to educate themselves on the topic of cryptocurrencies, I would rather recommend focusing on high-cap projects, especially BitTensor Tau or Fetch.ai, which is also a very good example and a top project. So these are all still projects that I am personally very convinced of. You can definitely invest here. I can also well imagine that Fetch.ai could reach a market cap of 20, 30, or 40 billion if it really establishes itself. We have partnerships with Bosch, etc., so there is already quite a bit in place. There is a lot of substance behind it. Personally, my strategy here on the YouTube channel is, as I said, to get the absolute maximum out of it, perhaps really aiming for more than a 10x, 15x, or 20x in one's own portfolio. And if you set such high goals for yourself, you obviously have to invest in the right projects. That's why this YouTube channel may not be for everyone. Yes, especially absolute beginners can certainly get burned by such small projects. You have to be extremely careful, as it is not financial advice at the end of the day on my YouTube channel. But I think that even here with some hidden gems and especially small projects, we as a community have already been able to take some profits. Let's talk about the next project, namely Based AI. It is also a project that has performed very well recently. Simply through, of course, the PP coin, which some may have noticed. Based AI is linked with PP coin, and you can also take some time to read up on that. But I also see tremendous potential for the bull run here. Yes, I know, over the last 7 days it's been 140%. Of course, it's a bit unpleasant and feels a bit strange when you invest here. But I still think a lot can happen here with Based AI. We have perfectly bounced off the 0.382 Fibonacci retracement level, and I will make an investment here at the latest if we should come back to $3.9 US. We also have a perfect bottom formation here, so the chart looks very, very clean. And I can also imagine that Based AI will continue to perform well. I just wanted to include that in today's video. Then again, one of my favorite projects, OpenGPU, you can never have enough in your own portfolio. At least that's how I feel. As I said, I definitely don't want to oversell OpenGPU, but I have mentioned it very, very often on my YouTube channel. Anyone interested in this project should definitely watch this video here. So, as I said, I am very, very convinced of OpenGPU. It is also one of my largest positions in my own portfolio. However, it must be said that we still have a relatively high risk here. It is still a small project, but some parameters are in place. We have perfect tokenomics, similar to BitTensor, and we also have a CertiK audit of over 90, so in the ranking it is one of the top 50 projects, which is rare to see. So, such a small market cap and such good fundamentals. That's why I am also curious about what OpenGPU will bring in the future. Then the next project is Spectre AI. Here we have finally seen a breakout. I have mentioned it repeatedly in my YouTube videos. We can see it here now as well. We have sustainably broken through the last interim highs. Also, the market cap of 26 million is still absolutely nothing for Spectre AI. We already have an existing product with Spectre AI, so it is a type of AI prediction tool that we are dealing with here. That's why I also see good potential here in the upcoming bull run. Then the next project is Neural AI, and at this point, really happy profits to each of you. I think some of you were invested in Neural AI. I've mentioned it very, very often on my YouTube channel. It is one of my favorite projects, and I also see gigantic potential here. I included it in my recent YouTube videos. Be sure to check it out. I really think some of you invested in Neural AI last time. The video had 3,800 views, but I mentioned it again here. It's really important to understand that we had this breakout at Neural AI at 480. Yes, you can definitely watch the video where I mentioned that we are now seeing this breakout from this large symmetrical triangle. What we have just seen here is a tremendous price performance at 760. As I said, happy profits to each of you. Otherwise, as I said, just check out the last video on Spectre AI. I mentioned it at 196. And here we also see Spectre AI at 270. So there are definitely some analyses going on at the moment. That's why it's so important to actively engage with it now. I also see good potential in TARS AI, simply because we have a very, very clean bottom formation here. The big advantage is that we are running on Solana. So this is one of the very few AI infrastructure projects that run on Solana. If Solana also delivers a good price performance, TARS AI can benefit greatly from it. As I mentioned, I am partially invested here myself, so you are informed about that. But here we simply have a whole AI infrastructure, and I personally prefer to invest in the infrastructure rather than in specific AI applications, because we then essentially have no direct single bet risk, but we are betting on the entire sector. That's why I see a lot of potential in TARS AI for the future, and I also think that the entry point is currently very, very good, because we have a clean bottom formation phase here. It's almost very, very obvious that a pump will happen here sooner or later. So let's take a look at a new AI project in today's video, where I also see good potential. As I mentioned, I am not paid by Morphe, but I just want to point this out because we have a perfect chart in front of us. We started here in September 2024, which is also a very positive sign because we have steady higher highs and higher lows. This is actually a perfect textbook chart that one would want to have at this point, and we are also just about to break out here. I can also well imagine that we will look back in a few days and weeks once this breakout has occurred. So technically this is a perfect starting position. However, I don't want to oversell it because I know that some might blindly invest just because I speak a bit more favorably about a project. I really want you to make your own decisions. I am not your financial advisor or anything like that. In the past, there have also been some projects that crashed, which I mentioned in my videos. So definitely be careful, especially with such small projects. I just wanted to mention that. Let's take a quick look at the Morphe website, because this is the very first time I am mentioning this project in a YouTube video. Morphe is a decentralized machine learning platform on the blockchain. It is a kind of infrastructure with a public team where there is substantial backing. So I also see huge potential here for the upcoming bull run. Let's take a look, and the tokenomics are fine. In my opinion, it is not completely outstanding. For example, I prefer the tokenomics of OpenGPU. But every project has its weaknesses to some extent. Here, Morphe is still completely at the beginning. It is actually no longer listed on Coin, so I couldn't find it at all. And there are not particularly great exchange listings available. It is simply a project that is still completely at the beginning. This can certainly be a huge advantage, but correspondingly, it also comes with a higher risk. But overall, I really like the use case and also the basic conditions that are present here, whether it's the white paper or the overall presentation of the marketing. So there are several factors that speak for themselves, even the chart alone. So even from a technical chart perspective, what lies before us is an absolute dream. Now let's move on to the next project, namely HyperGPT. For me, it's like the little brother of AI tech. AI tech is higher, about 5 times higher in market cap. HyperGPT is smaller, with more potential, but also with more risk. I can also very well imagine that a trend reversal is slowly but surely being initiated here. We also have a relatively good use case here. It is a kind of marketplace, a decentralized marketplace for AI applications. So really, a use case that one would want because it invests in the infrastructure. A market cap of 20 million is not particularly much. It is definitely a project that one should not lose sight of. In case the question arises about where I personally buy all the altcoins, I mainly use Coin because fresh launches or new projects are usually listed on Coin first. Therefore, anyone who does not have an active exchange account can feel free to use the link in my video description. Of course, this would also support me and my channel, but here, I personally buy a large part of my altcoins, and later, I transfer all altcoins to a MetaMask wallet. However, it should also be mentioned here that you should always move your assets, your coins, to a decentralized wallet, whether it's a MetaMask wallet, because that way you are safest in the long term to simply park the coins, but at the end of the day, you also need a platform to buy and sell, and as I said, I use Coin. Then the next project we are going to talk about is Solana, which has not launched yet. It is a decentralized AI trading platform on Solana. Yes, I also see very, very good potential here because in general, Solana infrastructures have performed very well in the past. We see it with other platforms, Jupiter Exchange, Radium, or whatever. And if we have a specific use case here, namely a decentralized platform for AI projects, I also see good potential here. However, you have to be extremely careful here. Be extremely cautious because Solana has not launched yet. Currently, there is a kind of pre-sale happening. Personally, I am really not a big fan of such pre-sales. I would rather recommend you to wait and see how such a project develops. But still, it is of course important to draw attention to such projects early on because a lot can come out of this, especially such decentralized AI infrastructures. If Solana performs well in general, many outer projects in the Solana ecosystem, and of course the general AI hype comes into play, this project can really take off. But as I said, just be careful, especially with projects that are absolutely new to the market and have just launched or are still in pre-sale. Then the next project, Sigma, is also a project that I have featured in my YouTube videos. It is a decentralized AI copy trading platform, which works very well. In this case, there is already an existing product. In my opinion, it is also very, very obvious here. So we have a perfect chart in front of us. We have consistently reached higher highs and higher lows. It is truly a picture-perfect chart. And now, throughout the entire summer lull, we have consolidated. So it looks very, very much like an extremely strong accumulation phase. In my opinion, it is again just a matter of time until a sustainable breakout occurs, and we quickly reach the market cap range of 500 million to 1 billion. So I see the breakout happening in the near future. As I said, this is not financial advice. I personally am partially invested here because I anticipate the breakout in the coming days and weeks, or I can well imagine that a breakout will occur sooner or later. Now, at the end of the video, let's briefly touch on the topic of meme coins. I wanted to keep it a bit smaller in today's video. In my opinion, the chances with AI coins are currently a bit better. Nevertheless, meme coins are absolutely indispensable in this cycle, therefore I will also mention some meme coins here. Of course, be extremely cautious in this regard. What I would like to mention here is that I am not paid by any of these meme coin projects, so you are informed. We start with the first project, namely Mumu the Bull Run. I am extremely bullish because in my opinion, it is the mascot of the bull run. So here, I still see a relaxed 10x potential for the upcoming bull run. The chart also looks very, very clean. So it's almost a picture-perfect chart with higher highs and higher lows, and these are exactly the kinds of projects I want to invest in. Here too, the community and fan base of Mumu, the bull run, are very, very strong. So that stood out to me as particularly positive. We can also take a look at the last video I recorded. It was a kind of coin ranking video. And here at this point, I also categorized Mumu, the bull run, as very, very bullish, just like the other projects, so you can certainly check out the other videos as well. But as I said, Mumu the bull run is one of the top projects for the upcoming bull run. Also with the next project, Wojtek, I see gigantic mainstream potential. Everyone knows Wojtek, or almost everyone, and especially when the general public jumps on board. We saw with PP what is possible in a market cap range of 4 billion, 5 billion. I could also imagine something similar with Wojtek, and here too, the chart looks very, very bullish. Also here in a symmetrical triangle with higher highs and higher lows, a kind of accumulation phase is currently taking place. In my opinion, it is also just a matter of time until a sustainable breakout occurs, until we will see significantly higher prices here. That's why I also bought more wall check at this point, so you are informed about it. Then the next project, which is a bit riskier, market cap of 33 million aura, also a meme that I quite like. Here, sooner or later, a breakout could also occur. So here at this point, the charts all look very, very bullish and very, very similar at the current time. So with higher lows, yes, we see it here once, and higher interim highs, or in this case, a lower interim high. But this is a perfect symmetrical triangle, and sooner or later, a breakout will also occur here. It is, of course, always just a question of whether it breaks upwards or downwards, but sooner or later we will break out here as well, as we have seen with other coins. Otherwise, the next project, Happy Profits at this point, I had called alpha around that time, so everyone should be in profit at this point. I personally also got in here right at the breakout. I mentioned it in the last video, and I am still doing well in profits here. I can well imagine that we will continue to build the upward structure here. I am still very, very convinced of reject modernity, so of the alpha coin, and I can well imagine that a lot will happen here in the future. One must be extremely careful here. With a 7 million market cap, do not invest blind capital here at all. Especially such projects that are relatively new to the market are extremely volatile and extremely risky. But for me personally, the parallels to the GigaChat coin are extremely strong, which everyone should know. GigaChat and also Sigma coin both have shown very, very good performance. And when I simply see that GigaChat has shown such strong performance, I can well imagine that the hype will transfer to the alpha coin. Because alpha is, at the end of the day, number one, yes, the alpha, among the men, so to speak, so I can well imagine that there will still be quite a bit of price performance. Also, let him cook, also a similar chart, also with higher lows. Also here, sooner or later in the coming days, I can imagine that a breakout will occur, but a 6 million market cap is extremely, extremely risky. As mentioned, be very, very careful. That's definitely all for today's projects. It was once again an extremely, extremely long, unelaborated video. Feel free to write in the comments if you enjoy such videos where I give a complete overview of the market in general. Yes, there are other YouTubers who force a video every day. I personally am not necessarily a fan of that. I prefer to make a video every 3 or 4 days when something has really happened in the market, when there is really something to report, not just to grab some likes or clicks so you know about it. So feel free to write it in the comments. I could theoretically also make videos more often if they were just a bit shorter, but in my case, the videos are already associated with a certain amount of effort, be it regarding editing or the research, the entire scripts, etc. So there is quite a bit of work involved. Otherwise, if you want to stay updated, feel free to follow here on Twitter, Vincent Crypto, where you also get regular insights regarding me personally, as well as the market in general, so I am just a bit more agile there, or can post things that are more up to date regarding the crypto market. Otherwise, as I said, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It would support me immensely. I am extremely grateful to you for being so active in supporting here. Also smashing the like button so impressively, again and again, with like rates of over 99%. It is really absolutely not a given. I definitely appreciate it, but I think we can definitely get a lot out in the coming days and weeks. It remains extremely exciting in the crypto market. I think we can definitely look forward to the upcoming time, as there is still a lot ahead of us in the coming months. The drill has just started, as mentioned earlier in the video. Maybe the first 5% have just taken place, especially regarding the altcoins. Therefore, I am definitely curious and really looking forward to the upcoming time. So, as I said, feel free to leave a like or subscribe. I thank you for your attention and would say we'll see each other again in the next video.